Hello and welcome back to Project Spark, and welcome to Let's Build a World episode 11. This is going to be the final episode in this current series of Let's Build a World, and I say that because the world has moved into version 0.1. I'm calling it Alpha 0.1 because we have all of the NPCs roughly in place, we have most of the infrastructure in place of all the buildings and stuff like that, but we don't have any quests. There's no pathfinding, there's nothing you can really interact with in this world, but it is more or less in a complete state. The world itself is in a complete state, but when I set out building this world, I wanted to build a world, but someday I wanted to build effectively a game with this world. So I say this is the end of the current series because someday there is going to be a follow-up series, which is effectively going to be Let's Build a Game. I don't know when that's going to be. I'm not going to make any promises that it'll be anytime soon because I do have to go off and learn how to do the in-game code. And that's going to take a little while, so there will probably be another Let's Build series between now and then, but we will someday come back to this world. Now, what are we building today? Well, we're building a Goblin Camp. A Goblin Camp that's actually based off of one that I built in a previous world in a live stream. I think it was one of my first times playing Project Spark as well, so it's an interesting little circle. I know you guys probably haven't seen the other camp. I'm sure you didn't see the live stream, but it's an interesting circle for me to be building what's effectively that same design all over again. Same kind of pattern for the walls, same layout in this open circle area, and the same style with it going back into the cliff here. Now, I didn't have as much room in this cliff as I thought, but I'm really happy that we do actually have these open bits out to the water. It gives a little bit of a dynamic look to the place. It lets a little bit of light in as well. And it also lets me play around with Ambient Fog to make it look a little bit more, I suppose a little bit more unpleasant to be in. Because this area here that we just cut out is going to be the kind of workshop area. It's where the goblins will be making their weapons and just crafting all sorts of things. That main area there is going to be where the Goblin Leader is. And it's just, I have a lot of ideas for this little camp, and what I should say is that you're not going to see me complete it in this video. And I know that sounds weird. You're probably sitting there going, well, wait a minute, this is the end of the series. Shouldn't we be seeing the end of the world construction? In a sense, yes, but in another sense, no, because I don't want anyone going into this world knowing exactly what's going to be there. I'm going to change a couple of little things about between now and the time I make the world available for you to play. It's not instantly available at the time this video goes up. There will be another one saying that the world is available. It's currently in, like I said, Alpha 0.1. It'll probably be Alpha 0.2 by the time you get to play it. But that shouldn't be too far away. That'll maybe be in a week's time. I'll put up a video announcing that the world is, in fact, available to download and play. Now, what we've done here is created a bit of a chimney there. You saw me digging it out. We've also got this area around it there. This is all purely aesthetic. It doesn't really serve any purpose right now, as most things in the world do. But I kind of like that what I was doing with this build was... Let me try rephrasing that. What I was doing this build was sort of laying foundations for a lot of ideas, and it's a lot of things that I want to set myself the challenge of doing. I want a situation where I can have the player come down here and interact with something, or have a quest where you're working with the goblins to get some weapon or whatever. I want little situations like that, and that's something I was doing with this build. I was putting a couple of placeholder things in so that someday I could come back to it and actually give you a quest here. Actually give you a quest that's going to get you some goblin weapons or something like that. I want to have that functionality at some point in this world, so that Goblin Forge is probably going to be something like, oh, go and collect 10 bear arses and loads of ore, and we'll make you a Goblin Cleaver. It's going to be something just a little bit like that. A lot of the quests in this are really going to be very basic, I should say. I mean, I don't want anyone getting the idea that this is going to be a complex, you know, Fable or Mass Effect-like story. It's going to be text-based adventure, go collect 10 bear arses, and a bit of ore will give you a weapon. Go kill 10 of these guys, or go do this, or go do that. It's going to be something along those lines. It's not necessarily going to be story-driven. There probably will be some kind of core story element, but it's going to be sort of go do this in any order that you want. It's not really going to be a horribly difficult thing, but that's a conversation for another day. There will eventually be a series where we outline the whole coding process, but we'll get to that. Now, what we're doing here is just adding in some various items. I was just going through the gallery looking at all the cool stuff that I could have, and I saw this giant wheel thing, and I figure at some point I'm going to have to do something with it, because I want to use it. It looks really cool, and my idea originally was to have a goblin standing there going, we don't know why we turn this wheel, we just do. And I figure that's just, someone's going to look at that and go, well, that's just lazy. So at some point, I want to give this thing some functionality where you could have the player or a goblin use it, and something happens. If I can make a door open when a goblin turns that wheel to reveal like a hidden armory, then I will do that. I think hidden was a combination of secret and hidden. Interesting. But yeah, I'll do something like that. Or maybe I'll have it turn, blow up, and kill the goblin. I don't know. I've got a lot of ideas that I want to try out, and that's sort of the point I'm at. As I said in the previous episode, I'm pretty much happy to say that I'm kind of done with this world in terms of building. There are going to be other things that need adapted, but really the core construction of this world is done, and I am happy with that, to be honest. I am really happy with where the world has gotten to. Now, what we're doing here is just decorating the outer part of the camp. I decided some kind of bucket with loads of meat in it was a really good idea. I didn't realize you can actually pick those up by default, and you'll see me do that a little bit later on, but yeah, I can turn that off so you can't actually pick up all of the meat. Now, as well as adding a table, I do go ahead and add I think fish bones to the top of that. And I don't think there's actually much else to this little outer area. I don't think I add anything else to it, really, in this video. Like I said, there will be more to it in the final version that you end up playing. But this cut that's coming up in the video is an interesting one, and this is a bit of a tangent, but I'll tell you about it anyway. I had a pizza in the oven, and I had some fish fingers under the grill while I was recording this, and that cut there was because every smoke alarm in the house went off, and we had a small fire. So, yeah, I almost burnt the house down to bring you this video. Just saying. If people say I'm not dedicated, I'll just point them in the direction of this commentary, which, you know, I didn't really burn the house down. Didn't nearly burn the house down. There was a lot of smoke, but I don't think there was any fire. At least none that I noticed. But, yeah, what we're doing here is just smoothing everything out a little bit. I wasn't entirely happy with how that slope was looking. And we're just making sure everything is nice and smooth, but not too smooth. That sounds like such a kind of douchey thing to say. It's like, it's smooth, but it's not too smooth. But whatever. We're here working in the main area now. I'm going to be adding, I think there are 3 goblins that I add to these tunnels. And obviously that's not going to be all of them. I just add them there for the meantime, because like I said, there's going to be things in the playable version that aren't in these videos. That's sort of the point. But yes, there are going to be 3 goblins in here. One of them is just a guard that tells you to go away. One of them is going to be the Goblin Leader. And one of them is going to be over in the area where I added that reinforced bucket, or whatever it was. Now, what we're doing here is just adding in some torches. This is something I haven't really done in a little while. I think it was some of the earlier episodes where we added torches about the village. And I'm quite happy with how these turned out. There isn't really a convincing fire effect, unfortunately, that works with torches. So I sort of combine these subtle embers as well as some fire ambient thing that looks a little bit too energetic, I suppose, but it does the job. It sort of looks somewhat out of control, and I feel like that's what a goblin fire torch thing would look like, so I think it does a reasonable job. Now, there we are, just adding in the smoke to them, and I think yeah, there we go. We're adding in the ambient fog as well. The same thing we added in the other goblin tunnel on the other side of the map. We're just adding this at the various openings there. I think I also add some ambient fog, not that ambient fog, but the that one, to the entrance as well, just to make it look like there's smoke coming out, and when you're inside here it's a little bit blurry and a little bit foggy, and that's exactly what I want. Now I remembered at this point that I can color items, and that's something I went ahead and did with just a couple of things down here. I recolor that pot, and I also recolor the table, which is difficult to see, but I gave it a darker metal, and the wood is a little bit darker with a bit of grey to it, just to make it look a little bit worn and old and sort of unloved. And that was sort of the point, really. I didn't want it looking all fresh and new, because I don't think anything in these goblin tunnels is going to necessarily be fresh and new. Speaking of which, I'm probably going to want to change that reinforced bucket over there, because it looks a little bit too fresh and new. Now, right here on the table, we of course have the various spoils of war. We've got the loot bag there, we've got the emerald, and I also end up adding a treasure chest to this table. I make it look very royal, and the reason I did that is because I was thinking along the lines of another quest I could potentially add to this world, which is from the king and queen on the ship that we've previously built, in that they have their treasure stolen and I have to go find it. And it'll probably be something along the lines of, it'll probably be in the story quest, like the actual quest line, so it'll be something like going from the village to the Goblin Camp, where you'll see the chest but never do anything with it, and then you go to the king and he'll say, oh, go get my chest, it must be somewhere that I think the goblins took it. And you come back here and you see the chest is sitting there the whole time, and it'll be something like that, just something in the quest line. I definitely want to do that. I want to have a mix, like I said previously, where you have quests that you can do in any order, but there will just be one quest line. Haven't decided what exactly the quest line will be, or what exactly the purpose of it will be, but I'll work it out. If you've got any ideas for a quest line you'd like to see, then of course, as always, you can leave any thoughts and suggestions in the comment section below. Here we are adding in the chest, as I mentioned, and I actually recolor it just to make it look, like I said, a bit more royal. So we go with some reds and a little bit of gold there, and I actually really like that chest. Now, it turns out that the chest does in fact have a bit of a brain to it already. It was already a loot chest, so I did have to change that up a little bit. And here we are just adding in a box for this is going to be the Goblin Leader, actually, to stand on. And he looks a little bit different. I was originally going to go with a very, very dark red for his skin, but I think I changed that up a little bit later on and make him a grey goblin or something. I just wanted the leader to be a very kind of standout goblin. I wanted him to look very unique, but the effect it was doing with the dark red looked a little bit strange. So I wasn't entirely keen on the dark red. He looks more like a demon as opposed to the kind of goblin that I wanted. So we go with this sort of bronze looking armor for him with some grey fur, and eventually we get to changing his skin. I don't know what it was. It shouldn't really be doing that effect, but it did it anyway, and it didn't look right. But we just go with a sort of a grey goblin with some green eyes and some veins and all that stuff, and he looks somewhat imposing. He also has an emote. He will greet you when he comes down. He wants you to help him out with a chest, and that's sort of just a throwaway line at the moment, but eventually that's going to be a little bit of a hint for future quest lines that eventually come into this world. And I know I'm talking all about these future ideas, but I'm actually really excited. And I know some people have said they'll miss this series, but I'm really excited for the idea of getting into a new build, as well as learning to code for the return to this world, where it'll be, let's build an RPG or a story or a game or whatever it may be. Now, this goblin here is quite sad. He's apparently lost something. I've got no idea what he's lost. I just wanted to use a different emote. Obviously, the leader greets you. The other guy is angry with you and tells you to go away. I figure this guy's lost his clothes or something and is a little bit sad about that. Now, here we are. As you can see, things have changed a little bit. This guy will now greet you and also promote my YouTube channel because I can. We have a sign here that will tell you the current version of the world, as I said, Alpha 0.1. And this is just going to be me walking you through the world, showing everything off that there is to see. It's not finished. It is alpha version 0.1, and that's worth keeping in mind, but I'm really happy with where it is. When you start playing it, it's probably going to be 0.2, it might be 0.3 by then, but it won't be identical to this. There will be some small changes here and there, just so you have something to explore that's a little bit different to what you've already seen here. There's actually a typo in his text that I know needs changed already, so that's another thing to add to the list of various changes that need to come along. But with that in mind, I'm really happy with how this world has come along, and a lot of that is down to you guys. There's been points where I have had no idea what to add to the world, and I've asked you for help, and you've given it, and you guys have sort of crafted this world as much as I have. So any suggestions you have for quest lines or additions to the world or things like that, go ahead and leave them in the comments section below. There have been some people mentioning the idea of another city in the same world. I'm going to avoid that because there isn't necessarily the space. I know I can expand the land out a little bit, but there's not necessarily the space to do it. I would rather build another city in another world completely and give myself a lot more space to do it. But that's just one idea that's floating about. That's one of, you know, any combination of ideas. I have some ideas for maybe a sci-fi world using some kind of lightsaber type thing based on the Star Wars map that I played recently, so we'll see what happens. We really could go anywhere with this. I don't know what the next build will be, but it will be a thing. This world should be available. Also, there's a tree there that shouldn't be there. This world will be available in about a week, and that is kind of it. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for watching this series and putting up with the massive delays between episodes, but I think it's been worth it. You guys have helped me find a great interest in Project Spark and everything that it contains. I'm really excited to start getting into the coding of this and actually start making a simple RPG, because if I can do that, then I could maybe make some other kind of games as well, and who knows where we'll go from there. So yes, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your support and your comments and your likes and your demands for more episodes. It's been quite the journey. I've been the ConflictNerd, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.